Most people spend years learning how to fly. This teenager didn't. At 17 years old, Colton Harris Moore walked into a dark, empty airport, broke into a locked airplane and took off, without ever flying one before. No license, no instructor, no backup plan. And somehow, he didn't just survive it, he did it again and again. For nearly 2 years, he stayed one step ahead of police, crossing state lines in stolen planes like the rules didn't apply to him. This isn't just a story about crime. It's about how far someone can go when they decide there's nothing left to lose. 2008, Washington State. Early morning hours. Most people are asleep. Airports like this one are quiet at night. No crowds, no staff walking around. No one is paying attention. But someone is creeping through the dark. 17-year-old Colton walks across the tarmac toward a small aircraft sitting alone in the dark. He doesn't belong here. He's not a pilot. He's never taken a lesson. He has never even seen the inside of a cockpit before. But in a few minutes, he's going to fly the aircraft anyway. He forces the door of a Cessna 182 open and climbs inside. The smell of fuel and metal hits first. Something unfamiliar. Then the controls. This isn't like the simulator. In the game, everything is clean, predictable, controlled. Here, it's overwhelming. Switches everywhere, buttons he has to interpret and learn in real time. More ways to mess up. No reset button if anything goes wrong. He pauses, takes a deep breath. This would be where a normal person would stop. He doesn't. Because he's already spent months preparing for this. Not in a class, not with an instructor. On someone else's computer, in someone else's house. He starts moving. Battery, fuel, mixture, throttle. He studied this sequence for hours. In addition to his flight simulator training, his preparation consists of watching tutorials on YouTube and reading through flight manuals. His hands are steady, but not because he's calm, because he's committed. The engine turns, struggles, then catches and springs to life. Vibrations, noise, power. The loud noise is something he expected, but he flinches anyway. It's real now. There's no going back. He releases the brakes. The aircraft begins rolling across the ground. Too fast. He corrects. Too slow. Adjusts again. Every second is trial and error. Ahead of him, the runway stretches into darkness. No clearance, no radio call, no one is watching. He lines up, pushes the throttle forward, and the engine roars louder than anything he's experienced. His speed builds fast. 50 knots, 60, 61, and he pulls the control stick back. And slowly, the ground begins to disappear. He's airborne. A teenager with no training is flying. For a few seconds, everything is quiet. Just the sound of the engine and the realization of what he just did. Below him, lights from towns shrink into patterns. Above him, nothing but open sky. Behind him, a crime that won't even be discovered until morning. By then, he'll be gone, hundreds of miles away. And this will only be the beginning. Flying isn't something you just figure out. It takes years, thousands of hours. So how does someone like him do it? And more importantly, why would he even try? 2 years earlier, he breaks into a house. Not for valuables, not for cash, for a computer. On the screen, a flight simulator. The owners are on vacation, and for 3 days straight, Colton barely leaves the screen. Hours after hours, day after day. Takeoff, failure, reset, landing, crash, try again. He isn't playing, he's practicing. Every crash taught a lesson, every mistake meant adjusting. He memorized everything. The instrument panel, the behavior of the aircraft, the relationship between inputs and outputs. But he didn't stop there. Colton began visiting small airfields, the quiet ones no one watches closely. Unattended planes gave him access to flight manuals and handbooks. He would steal them and read them front to back. He studies the procedures and memorizes sequences. Through his methods of flight simulation, reading manuals and handbooks, as well as watching how-to videos, he learned the language of aviation without ever stepping into a classroom. Colton's life of crime started at a very young age, a result of an unstable childhood. His father was in and out of prison for drug abuse, and when Colton was 12, his father was arrested and never seen again. He grew up in his mother's home on Camano Island. Child Protective Services often made visits to the house to investigate calls made by concerned neighbors who believed Colton was being neglected and abused. At just 7 years old, he was sneaking off into the woods for days at a time. He would feed himself and create shelter by breaking into homes to steal things like food, water, and blankets. His mother claimed that there has always been something concerning and off about him. He got in trouble at school for not listening to his teachers and starting altercations, as well as breaking things around the home. His first conviction for stolen property was at 12, and he had 3 more by the time he was 13. He spent a lot of time in detention centers and doing community service work. However, according to records of a psychiatric evaluation ordered by the court, his mom was an alcoholic, and she was the one to break things around the home, including his toys and belongings. His evaluation also indicated a diagnosis of depression, attention deficit disorder, and intermittent explosive disorder. Most of the places he broke into were empty vacation houses, but they offered him more safety than his own home. When things got hard, he turned to the wilderness instead of people. Though he would initially steal things that were necessary for his survivalist lifestyle, his theft eventually morphed into a leisure activity. In 2009, he used a computer and credit card in someone's home to order bear spray and night vision goggles worth $6,500. Other times he even took baths in people's tubs and ate ice cream out of their freezers. And as his crimes became a mere part of his lifestyle, they also became riskier and more complex. Police believe Colton to be responsible for multiple car thefts, taking him across different state lines. When his house-hopping robberies began to draw attention, he would steal a car and drive to the next town or state to evade arrest. During a few of his heists, he left footprints behind, earning himself the nickname in the media, the Barefoot Bandit. After a few close calls with police, he noticed something. Police track cars. They monitor the roads and control movement on the ground. But above them, no one is watching. So Colton began plotting his next big scheme, stealing planes. What started as a child's escape from home had become a normalized lifestyle of crime. He's higher now, and it's much colder than before. But his fuel level is significantly lower, and the hardest part is about to come. In the simulator, crashing means restarting. Here, crashing means the end. He scans below. Trees, mountains, nothing forgiving. Then, a strip of land. It's not the most ideal terrain for his first ever landing attempt, but it's his best option. Now, he prepares for landing. He remembers the procedures he spent so long studying and adjusts his approach accordingly. He sinks lower to the ground. He started his landing configuration too early and struggled with the flare. He pulls too early and the plane lifts back into the air. He corrects and the wheels slam into the ground. With a few unsteady bounces, he is able to bring the nose wheel steady to the ground and get the plane under control. He immediately began braking, but he came in too fast and the tires suffered from the force. The smell of rubber quickly fills the air, but the plane slows. He made it. The plane is not in great condition after the rough landing, but that is no longer his problem. It got him from A to B. The rest doesn't concern him. From that moment on, when his crimes start catching up to him and he starts feeling the heat, he takes off. He can cross state lines in hours, without checkpoints, without witnesses, without leaving a trace. So he does it again and again, each time refining the process. Steal, fly, crash, escape. Every flight increases the distance. Every escape increases the legend. But these are no light crimes. Higher authorities begin to acknowledge the danger of the Barefoot Bandit. And now it's bigger than local police. Now it's in federal territory. To escape the heat of a federal investigation, he planned his great escape. On July 4th, 2010, he embarked on his most daring heist. He stole a Cessna 400 single-engine plane in Indiana and flew it through the dark to Great Abaco Island in the Bahamas. It's across the open ocean, thousands of miles, at night, with no navigation system, no communication, just instinct and everything he's learned. He takes off. Land fades behind him. Hours pass. Below, nothing. No landmarks, no reference points. He uses only his compass to guide him, just darkness, until, finally, land appears. He made it, against all odds. But the landing is different from those before because it's going to be on sand. He doesn't have much time to prepare. With the sun starting to rise, he will start to draw attention. He has to land quickly. When he goes in for landing, it's too fast, too unpracticed. He hits the sand hard, and the plane's propeller flies forward into the ground. Metal pieces fly everywhere, and the plane skids. The wind is knocked out of him, and he needs a minute to recover. His heart is pounding, but he crawls out of the aircraft. Immediately, the salty and warm tropical air hits him, and reality sets in. He just pulled off one of today's most daring escapes. Unfortunately for Colton, things are about to go south. Getting there was only half the problem, because now there are no forests for him to hide in, and Colton completely underestimated the tight-knit community he just invaded. An outsider crash-landing a plane on the beach and breaking into multiple homes is not the type of thing to fly under the radar here. And within hours, authorities not only know he's there, but they are close on his tail. He has nowhere left to run. There are no cars to steal and drive off with. There are no small surveillance airports. He has to improvise. On July 11th, at 3 a.m, he finds a speedboat at the marina with the keys in the engine. A lucky coincidence, or just what authorities knew he was looking for. Open water, full speed. Colton doesn't second-guess it. The Bahamian police are immediately notified of the movement, and they know it's him. He is racing through the dark, but something feels different about this time. Not enough preparation. Nowhere to hide. The water is unmarked territory for Colton, and the police easily gain on him. Once they are close enough, they fire shots at his engine. His boat abruptly sputters and stops in its tracks. He is completely surrounded with no escape. Sirens and flashing lights ignite the sky. Police yell at him, "Raise your hands!" After years of staying ahead, it ends in a moment. In the end, even someone who outruns everything eventually runs out of places to go. For 2 whole years, he was able to evade the FBI. He broke into houses, stole cars, crashed planes, and became international news. Some were impressed by his boldness. Others found his recklessness unforgiving. But Colton didn't live a normal life. His life revolved around crime, and often relied on it. His childhood and upbringing earned him a lot of sympathy. In 2012, he was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison and owed $129,000 in restitution to his victims. His sympathizers even raised money via social media to fund flight school, but it was denied by his parole officer, and he had to use the money toward paying off his debt. On September 28, 2016, Colton was released on parole. Colton Harris Moore proved that anything is possible with determination, but without direction, it can turn survival into self-destruction. In the end, he learned how to escape everything except the consequences.